So search engine optimization is, of course, one piece of an overall marketing strategy for your studio. But I've talked to a couple of studio owners lately that are spending way too much money and way too much time doing the wrong things that are not going to bring them the results that they're looking for. And the fact of the matter is that there's just a lot of bad information out there and bad advice that people are taking. Some of it from people who are just uneducated and don't know what they're talking about. And I think some of it's just outdated. And I wanted to take a moment and talk just a little bit about search engine optimization techniques for dance studio websites and what we've found is working extremely well today and what's not, and kind of break that down and give you some advice on what direction everybody should be headed in trying to drive more traffic to their websites. Okay, so first of all, what do we mean by search engine optimization, or SEO? Really, we're just trying to answer the question: how well does your website show up when somebody searches for relevant keywords on Google? Google still being the power player. There are some other search engines out there that are grabbing in some industries some of the space that Google has dominated for a long time. But if we can optimize for the results in Google, we can optimize for these other engines as well. And so how are we getting Google and other search engines to list our website first so that it's driving a majority of the traffic to where we want them to go? How do I show up first, if we can answer that question? So first and foremost, what are studios doing wrong? Well, a lot of studios are just ignoring this. They're not paying any attention to it at all. They think that it's too technical or too difficult or something like that, or they don't even realize that this is a thing. And if you're ignoring this and you're not paying attention to the search engine results that your website is getting, based on the relevant keywords that you want people to find you at, you're missing out on a ton of traffic to your website. If you're missing out on that traffic, it means you're missing out on people enrolling at your studio, and you do not have all the students that you could have. So other studio owners are spending way too much time on this. They've heard somebody tell them, for example, that they should be managing a blog and that content is king, and they need to bulk up their content on their website so they're more likely to show up in Google search results and this kind of thing. And the fact of the matter is that's pretty much outdated information at this point, and we'll show you why. If you're running some search engine optimization strategies and trying to do this, you should not be spending a lot of time on this. You should be focusing on the things that you can get done quickly and you can manage easily, and going out there and building a ton of content and redoing your website and all this other stuff, building backlinks, that kind of stuff, it's just not going to get you the return in a short amount of time as some other strategies can. Of course, another thing that a lot of studios are doing is they're going out and they're hiring an expensive company to try and fix this for them. They're paying $500 to $1,000 a month for somebody else to go out and write these blog articles and make these updates to their website and set up backlinks so they get more Google juice and all this other stuff. And the fact of the matter is, not only does search engine optimization take time, so they're not going to see quick results, if you've got that kind of budget to throw into some kind of marketing, there are a lot of other strategies that are going to work a lot faster than this. So that's another mistake that we think a lot of studios are making. Besides the point that most of the search engine optimization companies out there that are going to help you with this do not understand our industry well enough to understand what it is we are trying to accomplish, and they're going to end up driving the wrong kind of traffic, for example, to your website. So it's not something that we recommend that you do. The amount of work that needs to be done to optimize sort of your website to the search engines today, you do not generally need an expensive company to do it for you, and you do not need to be spending a ton of time on this. And if you're doing either of those things, of course, we think that's a mistake. So in order for us really to do a good job of optimizing for search engines, it's important for us to understand how Google is listing those results today. For example, right here I just did a real quick Google search of Toledo Dance Studios, and this is what we refer to as the search engine results page. Some people call it the SERP or the SERPs, the search engine results pages. And you'll notice that this first one that's listed here is listed with a website, and I can click here if I want directions. If I was, of course, on mobile, that's very common for people to be clicking for directions. This second one here has a schedule set up and then a link to their website. And there are a couple of important things to understand about these results. First of all, these results, Google right now is weighing proximity very heavily in how it decides whether or not to list one studio before the other. And not only that, but it's showing Google review results. You notice this second one here has more than this first one. And another important piece to understand is that if I click on this name right here, it no longer takes me to the website of this studio. I have to go over here and make this conscious decision to visit that. Most people are still clicking on the name that takes me to what's called the Google My Business page. And you may be familiar with this already. You probably have one, whether or not you've claimed it or updated it or anything. at all for your own studio. And it's very important to be staying on top of this Google My Business page and making the updates that you can to it. We'll show you why in a moment here, but you'll notice that this studio has its Google reviews listed, an address. Usually there's hours and some images and some things next to it. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, something with a larger screen, you're going to see some map results. And another really important thing to keep in mind here is that when people have clicked on your studio name and are visiting your Google My Business page, they are still being given more information about the competition in your area as well. And so they have not moved off of Google and to your website yet. They need to click on this website link or navigate further somehow. For example, if somebody realizes that they're looking at this listing here because they're at work as they're looking, but they live closer to this listing here, they're going to click on that listing and move away from yours and towards somebody else's. So that's an important thing to keep in mind as you're considering how to set up your strategies. Now, why should you care about this? Obviously, there's a bunch of reasons to understand this, because first and foremost, your ranking in the search engines is directly linked to how many prospects you get. And hopefully, if prospective students are reaching out to you for more information, you are enrolling more people if you are getting more prospects. And so the higher rankings are getting clicked on more often. And so you want to make sure that you're showing up in the search engines at the right place so that you're getting more prospective students in the door. Outside of that, Google is now the new yellow pages. What do I mean by that? Keep in mind that when somebody types in, ballet classes near me or whatever it is that they're searching, that it's not just going to show the result that you want them to. It's not just going to show your result, but it's going to show the most closely related results as well. And so your competitors are coming up on those listings as well. And so this, of course, is a problem that we used to have when we advertised in the yellow pages. The yellow pages would charge more for listings that would show up sooner or for larger listings. And Google, of course, is moving in that direction as well. If you want to show up in front of your competition, it's becoming more and more important for you to pay for some kind of placement as opposed to just relying on organic placement. That's a good move for Google business-wise, but it's not necessarily the best thing for us. And I think another really important thing to keep in mind here is that just having a great program isn't enough anymore. We need to make sure that the messaging is getting delivered to the right people in the right way so that we can actually get these people to contact us and then come in the door and try out what it is that we offer and then get enrolled as ongoing paying students. And if you're not taking advantage of all of the tools available to you, you're just missing out on thousands and thousands of dollars every single month. So that makes it that much more important for us to stay on top of the current search engine optimization strategies that are out there. The landscape is changing, and the way that this used to work just as little as a few years ago is not the same as what's happening today and the way that we need to navigate all of this today. So it's important that part of the $1 million work that you do at your studio, the most valuable work that you do at your studio, is staying on top of some of these strategies for all types of marketing, especially digital marketing, because they change so quickly. And if you can stay on top of them, you can stay in front of your competitors and stand out a little bit better in the market. So one of my personal recommendations is to pay attention to what these guys say. Moz.com, the folks that work there are just simply the smartest guys in the room when it comes to search engine optimization, especially local search as well. And so you don't need to become an expert in this, okay? You don't need to become a professional search engine optimizer. But paying attention to what these guys are saying, visiting their blog, signing up for some of their email options and some of the information they send out, I'd recommend do that. They have a number of free tools and a number of paid tools that I think are useful as well. And so being familiar with what these guys offer, I think, is one step in the right direction. Every year, what they send out a bunch of surveys to digital marketing professionals, and then they crunch all of the numbers and they put together a report that they call the state of the industry. And some of the information that came out in this most recent one that they produced, the most recent state of the industry that Moz.com produced, I think is really important for us all to pay attention to. One of the things that it pointed out is how Google, for example, their focus on proximity when it comes to local search is creating bad experiences for the actual users. So the example that they give here is that let's say that the best pizza place in town is not the closest pizza place in town to where I am when I'm searching on my cell phone. The closest place in town is probably the one that's going to show up first. And so it's not necessarily giving me the best user experience, but that is valuable to Google because Google now will require somebody else to pay them money in order to show up higher in the listings than they normally would. There's little that we can do about proximity when it comes to running a brick and mortar business. If somebody is sitting in a coffee shop on their laptop looking up locations to take dance classes, and they are closer to your competition than they are to you, even if their house is closer to where you live, or even if their house is closer to your business, your competition is still going to show up first. There's very little that we can do about this. You may be the best studio in town. You might even have the best studio website. You might have invested a lot of money in search engine optimization already. That being the case, Google is moving more in this direction. So they're going to weigh proximity more heavily than they have in the past. And this result here, what you're looking at here, just shows that there are a number of search engine marketers out there that agree with this idea. This is the direction that Google is heading. Another thing to keep in mind is that in the past, a lot of digital marketers sold all of us on this idea that what we needed to do was increase the traffic to our website significantly, and that was going to help us to make more sales. No matter what business or industry you were in, that if you had more traffic to your website, that was going to translate into more sales. And while that seems to make a lot of sense, what we're realizing now, especially with the direction that Google is heading in its own search engine results pages, is that it's more important for us to be focusing on conversions once somebody hits our website. And this is a piece of low-hanging fruit that I see a ton of dance studios missing out on. A lot of dance studios are missing out on this idea that if somebody hits your webpage and you are, for example, trying to do directly stick people in some kind of an online enrollment or some sort of complicated process for them to schedule their first class with you or something like that, it's a huge mistake, because if we increase the traffic that goes to your website, a bunch of these people are not going to jump through all the hoops that are in place there. They are not willing to enroll directly or try and navigate some sort of difficult to understand online calendar that they have to figure out, or whatever it is that's happening on all these dance studio websites. It's just too hard for cold traffic to jump through that hoop. They're going to hit the back button, they're going to go to the next listing in Google, and they're going to contact that person instead. And so the point is just that we need to work on converting people once they come to our website, as opposed to just getting more traffic to studios. And the studios that come in and work with us see some of the most immediate results with that right away. We help them to optimize and simplify their websites so that it's directed specifically for converting cold traffic into new prospects. And once we do that, what they find out is that there's already a ton of traffic that was going to their website that they were just missing out on. And it was because their website was not set up to convert well. It may have been set up to help with search engine optimization or to get information to people, but it was not done intentionally to convert that cold traffic. So you need to be paying attention to that. And that's what's happening. That's what these search engine marketers are realizing. This is what Moz.com is reporting here, is that digital marketers today need to understand that converting people once they come to a website is more important than just driving more traffic to it. That it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it if you don't work on it in that direction. Another thing is that Moz.com reported just recently is that there is no clear strategy that works best for search engine optimization, especially for local businesses. Used to be that they would talk a lot about content being king and website design, mobile strategies and loading speed, having your citations consistent and backlinks and links on social media and all this kind of stuff used to be very, very important. And that's becoming, Google is doing a better job in a sense of weighing many variables in some of their results. And not just kind of favoring one tactic over another. And so that's why we don't want to spend too much time or too much money beating on any one of these tactics. And what we should be instead doing is taking this long-term vision, this long-term approach to making a small change here and a small change there, and trying to increase the user experience on our website, converting cold traffic better, rather than spending a ton of time, writing a blog and keeping that updated or building a ton of backlinks. Those things may still be important, but they are absolutely not the first things that we should be working on. The other thing, and this is maybe the most troubling of all of this that was reported most recently, is that Google is now becoming the new homepage for local businesses. Now, if you're running some kind of studio where you teach salsa dancing to people on the internet anywhere in the world, this may not apply as much to you as it does to those that are running brick and mortar facilities. But like I showed you on the results on that search engine results page for Google with the 3-pack and the map, when they click on the name of the business, they are not being taken to, users are not being taken to the studio website. They are being taken to the Google My business page. So you need to make sure that you've claimed that page, that you are updating that page, and I guarantee you that in the future, Google will be moving more and more in this direction. They will be trying to take more local traffic away from the actual website for the business and requiring people to have more and more information and to optimize their Google My Business page more than their personal website. There are ways around this. Google is going to allow people to pay to kind of get around some of these issues. But if you think about it from their point of view, it's the best move for their business, and they want to increase traffic to their business listings. That's what they are going to be doing in the future. And so the importance of driving people to your website from a Google result is still important, but it is going down, and that's an important thing to keep in mind. I don't think that is going to change in the near future. That is going to be the new reality that we're dealing with. So what is the take-home message? I know I got a little bit more technical than I probably intended to on this presentation. I'm sorry about that, but here are the things to keep in mind. For Google local search, for any kind of business, dance studios or any kind of brick and mortar business, proximity is being weighed more heavily than just about anything else. There is very little that we can do with that to get around that. And so paid sources and other marketing techniques are going to be more and more important in the future and replacing some of the search engine optimization strategies that many studios focused on in the past, all right? You'll also remember to focus on conversions and not just ranking. And so being number one on that list is not only harder to accomplish now, without using, for example, Google ads or local service ads or something that comes up above the 3-pack. But we don't care so much about being in the top as long as we're sort of in the top 3, as long as we can have a well-converting website that we're driving people to once they do get off of Google and into something that we can control better. So pay more attention to conversions than you are paying to ranking right now. Also, remember that there's no silver bullet. There's no one thing that's going to make all of the difference for whether or not you come up first in the search engine rankings. Outside of proximity, it's just really hard to have a lot of control over that anymore. So any sort of strategy that you're putting in place now, and you should have some sort of search engine marketing strategy for your studio, should not require you to spend a lot of money or a lot of time, and it should take in the long view. This is something that we are doing over the long term so that we can have a studio tomorrow as well as today, next year as well as today, and we're not just going to try and do one thing and get a bunch of people in the door and then not pay attention to search engine optimization anymore, okay? Long-term strategy, small moves over time is what is more important right now. And then, of course, you want to claim, if you haven't already, your Google My Business page and make sure that you're optimizing and paying attention to that page, because in the future, Google will be driving more traffic to that page, not less traffic. They are going to try and force their users to go to your Google My Business page as opposed to going to the website that you have more control over. So I know I went through a lot of information there very, very quickly. I hope that it was helpful to everybody. Please keep us posted on your results and how well all of this is working for you. If there's something we can do to help, or if you'd like to learn what it takes to become an ongoing client of ours so that we can help you kind of navigate some of the landscape that's changing so quickly, please reach out and let us know. In any event, good luck in everything you do. Talk to you soon.